I guess, what exactly is it and how do you pitch it?
So a true novation is a substitution of contract.
Okay.
Well, so basically you would either use like our creative contract or our wholesale contract. Usually we're using our wholesale contracts, but we have gotten to the point that we have a situation where we've written up the deal on the creative and then turned it into a novation because it's something that we didn't want. But typically you'd use the wholesale contract, and then in the course and down where the contracts are, there should be 3 other documents along with that wholesale contract. So you're going to have an addendum that is going to basically spell out what you're doing, that you will be listing on the market, you will be finding an end buyer, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when you're pitching it, the advantage of them going with you as opposed to a realtor is you're gonna give them a net number. You know, it might be a $200,000 deal for them. Where if they go with a realtor, they are and let me back up. You're gonna give them a net deal because you pay all the commissions, all the closing costs. If there's a Benzer, which is your repair order, you're paying for the repairs, all that stuff. The seller will net what you negotiate with them. So you're giving them a la carte type scenario.
So let's
they don't have to worry about all the bullshit.
For an example, use one of my deals so I can kind of wrap my head around it. So let's just say that one deal we just talked about recently that had the dead cat in the house. So I have that one locked up for $50K now, which was at 58, and the place needs a bunch of work.
So that one's going to be a little harder on a novation.
So the novation is going to be a better deal on a house that is kind of move-in ready.
It is, yeah, because what you have to look at is on the novation paperwork or on a novation deal, you're looking for an end buyer. So the end buyer, if they have cash, now you've got a deal. Now that could be just a true end buyer. It could be an investor on a novation. Okay, the advantage of a novation is you're going to be using a real estate agent, so they're going to list it on the MLS, and a lot of investors buy off of the MLS. Okay, so that is huge. And just like Adam and stuff said earlier, they may not be on Investor Lift if you have Investor Lift. They may not be on some of the other stuff. So they might be on the MLS because it's the biggest platform. So in your particular situation with that house, I would still do a novation on it, but you're not looking for financing because it won't pass FHA, it won't pass VA, it won't pass USDA, might pass conventional with a little bit of work. But so when you put it back out with the realtor, you just got to let them know that it's got to be a cash deal or a conventional loan. And so then you're fine. But if you use the calculator that we have there, clear on the right-hand side, you would put in there approximately what you think you can sell it for, as is. And then it has in there 6% commission. It has in there 3% for concessions. That 3% is kind of a slush fund, I call it, because you may or may not use anything for concessions. And that's going to be that you're going to give some money to the buyer to help with closing costs or down payment or whatever. Okay. At the same token, as you go down through the calculator, you're going to see there's some title fees because you are going to have to pay some closing costs. And then you have a repair cost in there of $5,000. Again, that's a slush fund. And usually where that's used up is if you're using an FHA or if you're using a like a VA where you have to go in and do some repairs, that money's going to be used there and before you ever get down to your profit. Now, the fun part is when we're doing novations, we're usually looking for a $30,000 profit. With that you got $5,000 slush fund for repairs, and usually you got another $5,000 to $10,000 slush fund in that 3% concession. So let's just call it 10 grand. So now that $30,000 profit just turned into $40,000 profit. Okay. If you're doing a wholesale deal, you might make 10 grand on it. And we could run through a whole calculator and I could give you a whole scenario of how it looks like. But going back, if you go into the course, there is paperwork in there, and it's going to be the novation addendum to the real estate purchase and sales agreement. And all it does, it talks about how you're going to do it, who's paying what fees, which they won't pay anything. And it just tells them that. It also gives you an extension on the closing, and it's a target closing date. It's not a concrete closing date, giving you another 45 to 60 days. And it has a built-in extension in there, meaning that if they are going out and getting a loan and we have to wait for that loan to come in, that the seller will wait for that. Okay. So that's huge addendum to have in there. The other one is going to be an attorney in fact. An attorney in fact gives you the right to list the property on the MLS and to negotiate anything on their behalf for the purchase. It does not give you the authority to sign the closing documents. The seller still has to sign all seller closing documents. Okay. You never want to do that. There are some people out there doing it. You don't want to get into that. Okay. So that's what the attorney in fact does. Then the other piece of paperwork that's in there is a conditional mutual release or rescission and release agreement. Basically what that means is if the title company understands what a novation is and the substitute of contract, basically what happens is you have the wholesale contract here, you hire a realtor, that realtor and you list it with that realtor with the attorney in fact. Then what happens, that realtor goes out and they find a buyer for you. They're going to bring in a contract from the state board of realtors. Okay. That contract is now in play and it lays over the top of yours, and yours is null and void at this point in time. So it just goes away. So title companies want to see that because you can't have two contracts on the same property at the same time. Okay. So this rescission and release agreement allows for that. Now, what it also helps you with is if that contract falls out from your buyer, then your contract comes right back into play again, so you don't lose anything. Okay. So that's super important. And that's pretty much all it is. And all you're doing is when you're selling it to people, like you already have these bought for $50,000. Okay. So now you just come back to them and say, you know what, after I do my due diligence and so forth, I find that I'm not your buyer. However, I can help you get rid of these with some of my partners and teamwork that I work with. And we can get rid of this, and I still guarantee you're going to get your $50,000. But it's going to be all upfront money. It's not going to be through seller financing the way we structured it. Okay. And you just go from there. And then all you do is just go out and find a realtor. And when you're talking to the realtor, you're talking to them and letting them know that you are in charge of selling this house. You're helping that seller sell it. All communication will be run through you. And some realtors get it, some realtors don't. And if they don't get it, you just move to the next one. Okay. And what I would do is, I don't know if you heard, you heard it last week where Kirsten got on and how she actually sells it to a realtor. Okay. That'll be on the recording from last week if you want to go pull that back up from Facebook.
Sure.
And see how she actually sells it. So it's her, and I have another gentleman here that's actually a licensed realtor here in Phoenix. So he talks the realtor lingo. And it's real easy because he can say, yes, I'm a realtor here in Phoenix, which now he's got credibility with the realtors he's talking with, instead of us just saying we're investors. Okay? That does help on that side of it, even though he's not using his license. And then you're just letting the realtor do their thing. And they get it up, they get it listed, they show it, they write the contracts, they do all the bullshit for you, and they're your dispo. That's what it comes down to. So Levi here that does all of our novation stuff, he loves it because all he has to do, he's not dealing with the buyer, he's not dealing with the seller, he's dealing with a realtor. And the realtor deals with all the bullshit. So the only thing that Levi does is he does help the realtor with scheduling showings, things like that. So, but that's how easy it is. It's not hard at all. You know, pull the paperwork, take a look at it. And if you got questions, hit us up. But it's that simple. And it should be that you can go back and easily have these three piece of paper signed by the seller. Because in my contracts, it says that they have to help you with any other paperwork that needs to be signed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what paragraph it is, but I can find it for you. But yeah, that's all in there.
All right. Well, I guess it's just a matter of doing one. So
Yeah. Yep.
Like I
So
said,
the definitely the two that you have out there, if you're not going to take them down, so I would do a novation on them and get them out there. And
let
go
me
that
ask
way.
you, like, what would be the difference of doing the novation versus just putting them on the flat fee yourself? Besides having a realtor just deal with showings.
That's the biggest thing, is having the realtor with the showings. I don't like flat fee. There are people out there that will do it. The other problem is the flat fee organization set up in those rural areas, if they'll do it or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can try it. We find that we used to do flat fee, and we find just having a realtor in there, paying them that 3% commission just helps so much, because they're out there actually selling it and showing it and pushing it for you,
Sure.
especially in rural areas, because these realtors, they know everybody, when you're in a small town. So they go out and they may already have a buyer in their hip pocket, where if you put it on the flat fee, you don't have them.